Keir Starmer says that Labour must do more to win. He's wrong. Winning is not the point. Governing is. There's very little value in chasing another electoral trophy, whether in the Senedd, against Plaid Cymru or wherever, while the country decays. The task is to fix Britain that is tired, fragmented and dangerously impatient. If Labour doesn't govern well, then resentment will not fade, it will ferment, and the monster in the corner, Nigel Farage and reform, continues to grow larger with every failure of responsible leadership, and that responsible leadership isn't just from the government, it's also from the opposition. So Kemi Badenoch and Keir Starmer are together responsible for the growth of Farage. And Starmer claims to be deeply disappointed in the Caerphilly result and acknowledges that Labour needs to do much more, but the response reveals the flaw. He thinks the problem is a campaign problem. It is a governing problem. The public is not demanding more placards. They're demanding functioning services, visible fairness, and evidence that the government takes their anxieties seriously. Consider the stark facts. Labour slumped to third place in Caerphilly, a seat that it once held for a century. Reform UK leapt from 495 votes in 2021 to over 12,000 votes this week. Plaid Cymru won outright with 47%. Sir John Curtis warns that Labour is in severe trouble in Wales. An unnamed Labour MP went further, saying there's absolutely nothing Starmer can do to turn the political tide if he persists with the current strategy. That's not a fringe agitator speaking. That is the sound of confidence evaporating inside the governing party. Mainstream, the Labour pressure group, warns that the party will be wiped out in Wales next May without a major reset. That is not a Welsh story alone. The Welsh Parliament is often a weather vane for deeper anger across the UK. Where citizens feel abandoned, they look for new voices. Reform presents itself as the shock therapy for a political class that refuses to listen. Plaid represents itself as a patriotic alternative that understands the people. Labour presents itself as disappointed and planning to reflect and regroup, the language of insiders of political adolescence. The makeup of the Senedd reflects the anger with the government. So the Conservatives received that anger in the last 14 years. Now Labour is getting that anger, and in the old days, that anger would then rebound onto the opposition that would get more votes. But when the opposition is so useless, the votes have to go elsewhere. And and there is a monster clawing, begging for those votes like some sort of giant cat. There is an essential flaw in Starmer's instinctive response. He keeps diagnosing reflection and rejection as insufficient marketing rather than insufficient delivery. Voters do not want management consultants in number 10. They want adults who recognise that winning the previous match doesn't guarantee victory in the next one. The mood of the nation has turned. It is no longer a nation that rewards caution, it punishes delay. If Labour believes it can focus on triangulation, blandness and defensive politics until polling day, then the story of the Conservatives will repeat. A great collapse follows the great complacency. The Tory death spiral was not sudden, it was a prolonged display of indifference to the real state of the country. Labour risks copying the same pattern, only faster. Brexit was offered as a solution. Of course it wasn't a solution. Reform is offered as a solution. Of course it isn't a solution. And the solution is hard work. That means people who are going to put in the time, rather than the slogans and the management talk, going off to think about it. I remember there was a head teacher that I had when I was at school who used to talk before he expelled someone, that he would go off and pray about it and then he would smile. He was, of course, completely mad. What he had to do was put in the hard work to fix the problems that were producing the revolts around the school. Starmer's error is the same. Starmer's error only strengthens his opponents. When a government governs timidly, opposition doesn't shrink, it mutates. For reform, every Labour embarrassment is nourishment. So, in a normal situation, Starmer's error would strengthen the opposition party, the Conservatives. But because the Conservatives are ruled by an utter an utter self-obsessed twit. That hasn't happened. What happens is the rebound is felt in the waste disposal unit in the corner. Farage doesn't need to win seats. All he needs is to appear as the true alternative to a tired political class. Every time Labour pleads that it needs to do much more, Reform can claim that it already understands what people want now. For Plaid Cymru, the Caerphilly victory is a moment of transformation, and their leader declares that Plaid is the real choice for Wales and the only party able to stop billionaire-backed reform. That language is confident and rooted in place. Meanwhile, Labour sounds as if it is waiting for someone else to fix its problems. The solution is not sorcery, it is government. Deliver visible improvements, demonstrate purpose, show urgency, acknowledge failures rather than excusing them as headwinds. Reconnect with what Labour once understood, that power is not reward, power is responsibility to the people who lent it. And as for Badenoch and the fading rump of the Conservative Party, if it wanted to establish something, it would provide precise solutions, not slogans. It doesn't. The point is simple. The job now is not to win an election. The job is to run the country. Starmer must grow into the office he holds. He mustn't abandon the habit of talking like a cautious... he mustn't abandon the habit of talking like a prime minister. He must abandon the habit of talking like a cautious challenger, like a cautious cucumber. He is already Prime Minister. The UK needs to see that. It doesn't need to see a strategist, it needs to see a leader. Because if Labour doesn't govern well, then voters will not return to Labour, and they certainly won't return to the Conservatives. They will turn towards the anger merchants standing on every street corner promising easy answers. The monster in the corner feeds on disappointment. Ignore it long enough, and one day it controls the room. That is the monster that nibbles your toes under the pavement. It is time to stop complaining and start governing. Britain is broken, the public is watching, and patience is gone.